There you
Hello, hello.
are.
Let me go ahead and put us in the stream. I think we're in there, so we're good to go. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Um, so Hillary, tell everybody what you were doing just before you went on.
So right before we started, I was teaching my parent English class. We do it well, it used to be Monday nights, but once a week we meet. And this year we've done more of a drop-in thing where they can come and go. So we're here for about 3 hours. And it's open to the community and we teach English to parents and it's the highlight of my work week.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. I love that. Um, Hillary's a giver. So if you don't know Hillary, oh, Hillary, tell everybody about you.
I have the blog called Pencils to Pigtails. I live in Tennessee. I always try to start with that because sometimes people are like, "Where are you from?" Um, I teach at the school that I attended, so I'm sitting in one of the classrooms that I was in when I was a little girl, which is funny. And I've been teaching 16 years. Actually, I think this is year 17. So
Very
lots
nice.
of different grade levels and lots of different positions, but all in the same school system.
Love it. Love it. Um, I just put something at the bottom, and you're probably like, what was that? So if you are in that Facebook group, you're going to want to enable the ability for the chat to happen. It still looks like it's catching up on the Facebook side. So it still says we're counting down, but you want to make sure that
Okay.
you enable so that we can see who it is, because when we select a winner, you have to let us know who you are. So we want to make sure that you enable um, those comments so that we can know who you are. Okay. So I'm really, really excited to have Miss Hilary here. As you
Mhm.
come in, if you would please just go ahead and comment. We want to make sure that you comment so that you can be entered into the drawing. As you comment, there's going to be a little ball that goes into the jar. So we're going to go ahead and pick somebody for that. And I don't know how to hide that message. There I go. I hit it. So I'm just going to put in here your blog. So I'm just going to bring it up really quick. And I wanted to talk to you, though, Hillary, about what it is that you are going to be doing or what you wanted to talk about tonight.
So, for the Educator Summit, I'm going to be talking about science of reading, but specifically seeing it in the classroom. Students actually word mapping and doing those phonemic awareness games with them. And I know teachers they've read a lot of the research or they've heard a lot of it and they want to see how can I use this with my students.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to share ways to do that. And um, I want them to be able to see my students doing that and
Yes.
my daughter.
Yes.
So I've taken videos of them word mapping and they'll get to see that in the
Perfect.
presentation.
Perfect. I know, because I think sometimes all it takes is just a moment for somebody to see what that looks like. Just to, give me an example. And one of the things that's great is when it's on video, people could go back and watch it. So that's nice too. They can go back and like, I think I have it. I mean, I don't know how many times like I try to do something new. Um, it's usually has nothing to do with teaching. It's usually something like how to make something in a recipe or how to get some technology to work. And I have to watch that video like 4 or 5 times in order for me to kind of build the memory on how to all the steps I need to go through. So that'll be great that it'll be videotaped. Yeah.
Hmm.
If you
Yes.
are already planning on, got your ticket already, just let us know. Give us a little contact message. I can see some people who are in there. Let us know in the chat is what I'm trying to say. I'm not doing a very good job of saying that, but let us know in the chat that you're already signed up. It looks like Christina's already signed up, which is amazing. And then Sarah is here from Kentucky, kind of your neighbor, right?
Yes. Close.
Close, close.
I have been driving through Kentucky quite a bit lately. I've been presenting in Indiana about once a month. And so I keep driving straight through Kentucky on my way up there.
Um, Wait, did I go the right way? Straight up?
Yes,
Yep.
straight up.
Okay, straight up. Geography, geography. I was talking to the perfect son the other day, not the other day, but probably about 3 or 4 months ago, and I was telling him how we wanted to go to Portugal. Um,
Hmm.
and he said he was quiet for a minute, and then he was thinking, "Wait a minute. he's like, is that in South America? And I'm like, no. I mean, you're a college
No.
graduate, you would never know, but no, it's not. So anyhow,
It's hard to remember all of those
I know,
different,
I know.
you know.
It was the whole they speak Portuguese in Brazil that got him, so that was his thing. But
Okay.
so for the Educator Summit, you're going to be talking about science of reading. What is do you have a tip that you can share with people um, right away that they can, maybe if they've been thinking about the science of reading and they haven't implemented it yet, or just one tip maybe that you could share that people could try tomorrow in their classroom?
Mhm. So, as I've been reading more about the science of reading, I have been just kind of learning more about how we need to do a lot of practice with phonemic awareness. And I feel like sometimes we just kind of skip that and try to jump straight to phonics.
Yeah,
And we wonder why we have students who can't take those separate sounds and blend them into a word.
right.
And so, um,
Or
you
even
can
take
kind
them
of
apart, right? So,
right,
both
break them
of
apart so you can kind of see if your students are lacking phonemic awareness skills, if they are unable to blend the sounds into a word, if they can't break the word into separate sounds,
right,
they can't substitute a phoneme out.
right.
So those are things that I kind of look for. And when I'm presenting, I usually tell people, have you ever had a student where you're sitting there with them and you say, k at, k at. Now put it together. You've got it. You're almost there. And the kids say, k at, k at. And then they say mop. Or I mean, just something. And you think, why is that so hard? It's just they need more support with phonemic awareness skills. So there's a few little games that I like to play with mine that you can try tomorrow with your students. So one would be just like a game where you're saying different um, phonemes, saying different sounds, and asking your students to listen for them. And so I like to do one called rainbow sprinkles, and the kids will make rainbow sprinkles when they hear a certain sound. So if I say, all right, everyone, listen up. You're going to make rainbow sprinkles when you hear Mrs. Statham say, "Pff." And so I like this game because they're all sitting there listening. Um, and I'll make different sounds. I say, oh, t, f, and then all of the kids do this. So we do that different ways. Sometimes we're kind of dancing and we freeze
Uh huh.
when they hear a certain sound. But that's just an easy way to practice them listening to the sounds. And then as far as those kids that struggle to blend the sounds to make a word, um, an easy one to start with is hand clap. So like for the word up, they'll say up and blend it together. And then when they get a little bit better at that, so they're good with 2 phonemes, we'll do 3 phonemes. So I have lots of games for that, but one example would be like they would pretend like they're swimming, and then when they blend the word, they go down.
Very nice.
So we could do dog and say d a g dog, and all the kids say dog with you.
So just keeping it really fun, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just kind of making it fun, different little games that you can play right before you line up to go to lunch or right when they're coming back from specialty, and you
right,
have like an extra 5 minutes.
right, right. And I love that you said it's just a really quick activity because I think sometimes we feel like it has to be um, you know, a 10-minute thing or even a
Mhm.
5-minute thing. Just a 2-minute review is oftentimes better. If you have, say you have 15 minutes to dedicate to these types of activities, if you spread them out, um, they go a lot further than if you try to do them all at this, all in one sitting, especially for your
Mhm.
students who may not have that learning stamina, right?
Mhm. And I feel like sometimes we just have that minute or 2 where we got our class lined up, but then we realized, "Oh, we're a couple minutes early for lunch."
Yeah,
So that's an easy, thing to do with your students to
love it.
practice.
Love it. Absolutely. Um, So, like tomorrow, maybe some people who are listening will want to, or when you're watching the replay, you're going to want to include some of those multisensory student movement, student engagement activities. And even though the activity is a little bit different, one thing, if you've been on my webinars or if you've done other listening, we talk about wanting to have the delivery be the same. So, we want to teach them the same skills so that they can go in and retrieve them later. So we don't want to, do something, a different way of them inputting that information or outputting that information. We want to keep that the same way so that they can retrieve those easily. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have Rebecca hop in here in about 6 or 7 minutes. She's hanging out in the waiting room. I don't know if she can hear me. She's looking at me. She can hear me. Okay, so good. So she's hanging out. So Paul wants to know if you do that in your class openly. Is that something that you do with your whole group? I know that you're teaching in small groups oftentimes, right?
I'm in small groups right now, but when I was with kindergarten or first grade, I used to do that with both groups. And I teach ESL, or I did last year. And so sometimes there would be, 6 or 7 kids with me, and we would try that.
Very nice, very nice. And some of the things that if you have the letter cards there in front, you can still have the letter cards there, and students could say each of those phonemes, right, with those movements or the sprinkle sound she was talking about. Because when they see the image of the grapheme, the letter, and they hear the sound, it helps cement those letters to sound. So if you have those available, use them. If you don't, if you're lining up in the hall and you don't have them like all over you, then then just the auditory part is really helpful, right? Would you agree there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people are, taking and tapping the word and then blending it down. So I like that.
Right.
If you feel like your kids need more movement, you can kind of take it and do head, shoulders, and knees or something and move it down a little bit more. It's just kind of a simple way to practice blending sounds.
And if you just kind of popped in, she was talking about starting with those 2 phoneme words, right? And then you can move on to those 3 phonemes if you're kindergarten, right?
Yeah, something I've been noticing a lot. Our teachers kind of struggling with, do I use, how do I actually word map? And so that's one thing we're going to talk about in my session.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard. Some teachers are wanting to, if it has 4 letters, they want to use 4 boxes, and it's not always the case.
Right.
So you have to think about how many phonemes are in the word.
Right. Paul, I don't know what you mean by earthy sounds. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I'm not sure what that means. It might be a slang that I'm not familiar with, but let us know what that earthy sound is, and we'll see if we can answer that. So, yeah, actually walking through several of those word mapping activities, I think, would be really helpful. And if I heard you right, you have your girls helping you out with those. Yeah.
So we'll do Heidi's going to do some of the smaller, not so many phonemes. And then I have a 4th grader who will show you some of the more difficult words.
Nice.
And sometimes I have to think, now how many boxes do we need for that word? And
right.
So we'll show some of those.
Very good. Now, is she familiar with doing like the multiple syllables? Is that something that she's doing in school? Or
I think she is. Yeah. That would be good to show.
I know there's so many parts of it. So many of us as teachers were really not taught how to teach this way. Even in I just got back from Indiana where we saw Miss Emily Hanford, who was amazing. But I just she was talking about how even now schools that are teaching teachers how to be teachers are not necessarily teaching this as well. So, it's if you are like, I don't know how to do this, just know that you're not alone. But there's been a lot of people in this space who've been talking about it. So if you know Hilary, make sure you follow her. She shares all kinds of tidbits, as well as so many people who are talking about it right now. It's really, really important. If you have not put any comments in, you want to make sure you do, because we're going to pull a winner out in just a minute. So make sure you do. We're going to be giving away a ticket to the Educator Summit. If you already have your ticket, it's not a big deal because we just give you one for the summer. So if you've already bought it, you can either gift the ticket to somebody at your school. I would make that person at school like bring you lunch for a week or something, like get something out of it.
You owe me lunch. You
Yeah,
owe me
free lunch
coffee.
for like, or a month or something, that would be good. So if you that would be one option, to have them make sure that they give you the goods. Um, but if you already have a ticket and you're not interested in a free lunch, I totally get that. You can get a ticket for the summer session. So we already have our keynotes all lined up. I'm going to keep that a secret, but we have everybody kind of lined up for that. So we're really excited as well. Jacqueline's pal is also in Tennessee. Hi, Jack.
Yeah.
Hi, I know her, Jackie. Jacqueline's very adorable. I know Jackie.
She's my neighbor.
I
We're really
know.
close.
Yep. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab a winner really quick. But Hilary, can you tell everybody what your coupon code is? So if you're not a winner, you can still get it. What is your
So
coupon code?
Hilary 10, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Hilary
With the
10.
number 10. And my name
So
just has one L. So I don't know if that matters, but
what's that?
my name just has one L. So you probably need to make sure you put in
Yes. So
HILARY.
yeah, if you put that in there, you'll want to make sure that you get. It'll give you $10 off of your ticket. So make sure that you put that in there. Okay, let's go ahead and hi Brenda, glad you're here. Couple more seconds and then we're going to go ahead and grab a winner. I know some people are getting their comments in, so I'm really glad you're here. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to put those away. Let's get a winner. So our first winner is Denise Sam. So Denise, if you would, I'm gonna pop the email in here. You're gonna email them, let them know that you were the winner. She's on here too, so she can hear it. I have to stop talking while I type this in. EducatorSummit.com. So email her and she will get you set up with a free ticket. Anything else you want to say, Missy?
No, I miss you.
I know, I miss you too. I miss you too. Sometimes you're lucky that you get to have people that you work with, and sometimes you get to have people you love that you work with. So I'm super excited that I get both of those with Hilary. So
Oh,
thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to let you get on. She's in her classroom. She just finished her class. She probably wants to get home and eat dinner and all of that.
yeah.
So thank you. And I'll talk with you soon. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, so everybody else stay on because here we go. Miss Rebecca is going to be joining us here. And I'll go ahead and pop. There she is. Oh my gosh, you're so pretty.
Hi.
So pretty. I'm
I
like
have to
a
keep up with you.
I'm just a little sweaty mess over here. It got like somehow my AC turned off.
Oh,
And
no.
so it's like really warm. So I had to take off layers. Anyhow, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. How's life in Alabama?
Hot.
Yeah, I bet.
Humid.
Yeah.
Hot and humid and sticky
Yeah.
and yeah.
I know.
We're
This
ready
is
for
like
the fall.
the
It's nothing
time
like
of,
it is in Colorado though.
I know. It's going to cool off at night, but it was warm today. The sun was up
Mhm.
and out. So Rebecca, will you tell everybody a little bit about you and kind of where they can find you on the World Wide Web, social media, blog, whatever you want to share?
I'm Rebecca Poe. I am basically all over social media. It's the best way that I've found to be able to connect with a lot of people all at one time. I'm on Instagram as at Rebecca Poe Teaching, and that is Rebecca spelt the biblical way. It's Rebekah. There are no C's in my name. That throws some people off, but that's what my mama and daddy blessed me with when I was born. So that's
I just typed it in the chat there so people can hopefully see that. So yep, that's her.
That is me. So yeah, I started my career as a special education teacher about 13 years ago now. I've taught every grade, every type of disability that you can think of, and now I'm excited to share everything that I've learned about inclusive education with my general education teacher counterparts, because I know everybody wants to do what's best for the students. A lot of times you might not know what that is, and you might not know that you're already doing it. So I'm excited to share.
Well, and I think a lot of teachers from that when I've been talking to teachers, what they have found is that every classroom is a special education classroom, especially for teachers who do really early childhood, because they may not have students have yet been identified, right? So,
Exactly.
right, right. I mean, when you get to third and fourth, oftentimes they've been, with in the, I don't want to say the system because that sounds negative, but they've been in the school system for a while. So they might be a little bit more on the radar. But in kindergarten or first grade, maybe they're still waiting to see, or they haven't quite been identified yet. So every teacher is a special education teacher, aren't they?
Absolutely, especially with those little ones. The eligibility category that we're going to be talking about in my session is developmental delay. And that's actually a category that a student can only fall into until they're age 9. So we're talking about pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, those early years where, it might be a developmental thing. It might be, there could be an actual learning disability coming on. There might be an intellectual disability. But
Right.
up until they're a little bit older, it can kind of be hard to
It is hard.
note for sure.
It is hard. Like I remember having, when I had students in my classroom, I'm like, is this a problem? Is it not a problem? And like not knowing when to like fire the alarm, so to speak, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, you need that for your pre-K. Yeah, that would be perfect. I think, like I said, all of us are special education teachers, but then we also have students who are in the classroom who may never be identified, and yet they have a learning difference, right?
Right.
So a lot of times the things, even if you're like, well, I don't really need, I don't really need to watch the special education. I think actually there's so many tips that you can take away. I know, yes, you do. There's so many tips that you can take away because, we look for things that trigger students. We look for things that can de-escalate situations. We can look for things that make the classroom maybe a little bit more conducive to learning. All of those things, we can talk to those special education teachers, and they can give us some tips that we can take back even with our students who don't appear to have a language or a learning difference, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure. The strategies that work for students with special education work for students in general education just as well. What works best for one student works best for all students.
yeah,
And talking about the learning differences in kindergarten, somebody else talking about their pre-K. So the CDC has actually, between 2019 and 2021, which we all know what happened
yeah,
between 2019 and 2021,
yeah,
there's been an uptick in diagnoses of developmental delays. And I think probably all of my pre-K teachers, all my kindergarten teachers can look at their students now compared to 2019 and be like, something is different. Something
yeah,
has
yeah.
changed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have my own classroom. Everybody knows that, it's no secret. But I walk into schools all the time, and just the hall in that really early education hall, it feels very different. There are students who really have a hard time self-regulating, right? They're really just, you know, struggling to do that de-escalation because I think that they, lived in a different moment in time. Hopefully,
Mhm.
a time we never have again. But
Yeah.
also I'm thinking, not just maybe they haven't interacted with children, which I know that's part of it, but then they also probably lived with people who were under a tremendous amount of stress at their own home, right? So all of those things
Yeah.
make it a little bit harder, right?
Yeah, my daughter was in first grade when the schools shut down, and I was teaching at the time. My husband is a teacher, and she was trying to do school online, so we're all on our devices, all at home, and it was just absolute chaos. So I know all the parents did everything they absolutely could do, but if you've got a small child at home and you're also trying to work from home, it's very difficult to have your child have the same experiences that they would have had circumstances been the way that we were used to them
Right,
being.
right, exactly. Do you remember off the top? This is gonna. I don't know if I asked you to know this ahead of time. So if you don't know it, that's okay. Do you
Uh-oh.
remember what your session's called? Do you remember?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is called differentiating for developmental delays.
Oh, straightforward.
Straightforward.
I love that.
It's not cute because, education is not always cute.
No,
Sometimes it can
I
be
think
cute.
no.
You can
Sometimes it's like you read
but
the title and you're like, what is that about? Like yours are like Lay it on. No, I love that. That's perfect.
Here it is. This is
Perfect.
what it is. This is what we're going to be talking about. Plus, it's got my alliteration that I love with all of the differentiating for developmental delays. So
Perfect.
I get a little bit of cutesy with it.
No, it's very cute. You're nothing but cute. So we love you. Um, if you haven't bought your Educator Summit ticket yet, you're going to want to. Prices are going to be going up very soon. So you want to make sure you grab those. My watch is talking to me. You want to make sure that you grab those. I don't know if the Educator Summit helper girl, Kayla, who I know you know very well, Rebecca, if she's in here, she could just drop the link because we want to have everybody, you know, signing up if that's something that they're interested in. I'm going to grab it as well. But I was just going to do my little ShamWow moment to let everybody know that one of the things that's great about the Educator Summit, it is all online. So you don't have to pay for a hotel room. You don't have to pay for air travel. You don't have to, eat out. Although all of those things are kind of fun when you go to a conference, but it makes it very affordable. You don't have to pay for a babysitter. And so those sessions are all pre-recorded for you. We have our keynote speaker, Emily Hanford, from Selling a Story. I know. I got to see her over the weekend.
I was so jealous of that. I saw it on your post and I was just like,
oh. I know. She was, how like you see somebody online and you know that, because her podcast is very well done. It's so well published. And you're not sure exactly. I felt like we could be best friends. I was like, I feel like we could be best. She just was like real people. And she's been a role model for I think a lot of teachers, but she's also been the voice for so many who have been saying, hey, we're having a problem over here. Our students can't read. And it fell on deaf ears. So if you haven't listened to Sold a Story, I recommend it. But she's going to be our keynote. So I got to go up and talk to her. I may or may not have cried in the middle of that meeting her. She's
just rub it in, Dee Dee. That's fine.
Security is crazy. But she's totally lovely, totally real. And it was just amazing. So she's going to be our keynote. Rebecca's one of a bunch of presenters. You met Hilary a little bit earlier, who have so much information to share, and you'll have 90 days to watch it all. So again, you don't need to, if you're thinking, well, I'm traveling over the holidays, it's not a problem. They'll be waiting for you when you're ready. So make sure that you have signed up. You don't want to miss it. Rebecca, your code is?
My code is Rebecca10, and that is spelled REBEKAH. Rebecca 10.
Yes, and I just popped it in there. It's going to take a second for people to see that, and I'm just going to go ahead and show it. Everybody was like on it, so I'm just going to show it here. There we go, Rebecca, and that's the way you spell her name. So if you're looking for her on social, it's Rebecca Poe. Is that it?
Teaching. Rebecca Poe Teaching.
Rebecca, all I know is I just follow you. I'm like, I don't know how to get there. I just see you, which is amazing. Well, that is amazing. So we're ready to kind of grab our little winner, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Let's go ahead and get my winner. It says it's me. I can't be a winner. How about Ellen? Ellen Cohn, if you're here, you're going to want to make sure that you message support at the Educator Summit.com. I should have had that like typed up and I just copy and paste. Make sure you email her and she's going to get you set up with the ticket. If you already have your ticket for the summit, you can talk to her whether you want to have one for the summer or if you want to gift it to somebody. So all of those things are an option to you. Anything else you want to share, Miss Rebecca? You look so beautiful.
Thank you. I look beautiful from the waist up. I'm currently sitting in gym shorts.
You're like, my legs are all hot because I'm here in Alabama and it's so hot.
It's so hot in here because it's Alabama. Okay. No, I'm so excited that it seems like more and more general education teachers are seeking out this type of information so they can bring it back to their classrooms. And as a special education teacher, as the mom of a student with an IEP, I am beyond excited to have so many excited general education teachers popping into the session.
I love it too. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just amazing. Oh, Melissa, you're so sweet. Thank you for for saying congratulations to her. All right, so that's it for us for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. You can go back and watch this. And I think that's it. Rebecca, if you want to stay on, we're going to end this. And everybody else, have a good evening. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.